Hi, Namaskar. I'm back for the fifth and final part of the pharmacy in the health sector system, the health sector scenario. I don't know if I'll be able to do justice here, right? But I want to talk about the supervisory aspect of pharmacists. Now, a supervisor in the health sector is someone who has ability to keep things under control at what we call ethical standard, or at in check, presentable, keep the surrounding, the people for maximum performance, and sometimes they have the nurse in charge. Like when I was sent to work, my first outstation to health center was at the Campbellville Health Center. My supervisor told me, I don't know if you want to go to health centers, but there's a nurse in charge of the health center. I said, okay, I'll go, right? But that was my first exposure to nurse, working under a boss, right? I used to work under a pharmacist. In the market, I worked with pharmacist Tiwari, who was a dispenser, sick nurse dispenser. He became a pharmacist. He was a kind of blind guy, but he liked me a lot. I don't know why. I was a student searching for a good place to practice. I asked around, I went to Mike, they said no. I went different place. I went to Fogarty's, but they had all these highfalutin, fancy looking girls and guys there. So I didn't feel welcome. I ended up in the market. So I asked Mr. Tiwari that I'm looking for a job while I'm studying at the university. He said, fine, come in. And he used to call me Baba. So that was my first. He was a nice man, very friendly, he and his wife. So I think his son has a BSc in pharmacy. He's a dispenser, and his son following his footsteps, dispenser pharmacist. So in that case, I have a supervisor who was very fatherly, very understanding, supportive, and also he was a good counselor and advisor when I'm in tight and hot spots. Working in the market wasn't easy, it wasn't easy. So after that, I worked under a doctor at the West Dam Hospital. It wasn't so nice, pleasant. My first experience as a doctor wasn't so nice, they're very bossy. They want to use foul language when they can. But this time I'm going in charge of a nurse, and for me it was a kind of eye-opener, because the nurse, she kind of was kind of the bossy type also. She was a Negro woman, a midwife, and she wanted to have her say and have things done her way. She would, and I didn't feel too nice that they were supervising up to the standard for a pharmacist, Personally, in my heart, though I endured and I bared, I felt that she wasn't the best kind of supervisor for pharmacists. So eventually my job led me to the Palms Hospital. I worked there before going to Campbellville. Then from there I went to other health center, like in Sophia. I worked there for a while, Sophia Health Center. There's a short Cuban doctor there. I think his name was Dr. Rodriguez. He was there. And he was also very tough guy, And once he asked me, what's the dosage for Dulcolax? I said 5 milligram at nights. He said, no, it's 5 milligram in the morning, 9 a.m. So this, I found that they can have their own ways, they can do their own things, So for nurse in charge, they are more, for me, they're not so polished, and the medical essence is not so aromatic there, It's kind of wafted down, or we used to say it become kind of diluted. That's a good word, no? So what we have happening is that when I went there, from all these health centers, from South Rumvelt, Sophia, I finally ended up on the East Coast at Enterprise, and there the first supervisor was the medical RHO, Regional Health Officer. He in charge of all the health centers on East Coast. He was Dr. Carter. He came, he used to come regularly often until things set in place, and then he kind of brought a Cuban doctor there. She said she was the boss, you know. So I said, okay, you're the boss, but I see people have different meaning of bosses when they say that, look, lemon, this is a beautiful variety of lemon. A lot of vitamin C. They say when you take lemons early in the morning, help to bring down the blood pressure, cut down the weight. So they said their interpretation of being a boss is very challenging, you know, for the pharmacists, for the co-workers, you know. And oftentimes I find other staffs would have a way of checking their bossiness, because for many staff they have to curtail their advances, their movements, their demands and needs and style. So for example, I learned a lot from the maid. To learn from the maid was very embarrassing, but I saw how she was holding the doctor and controlling, but still everything went. We did a good work up there. So now in this new phase, I'm up at Mondrapo Health Center after going to Victoria, which was predominantly African area, and the Nabakalis area, which is also African. I worked in Melanie Health Center, which is African area also. There you find the people there are a lot of fights, a lot of wounds and cuts. They go for comfort. They have a called the triagic room. Then they have the dressing room and all these things. So they have the nurses there. Sometimes they're in charge. They would fix the roster for you, what time your hours of working, and so it was not so bad there at Victoria and Nabakles, though the challenges came from the village, the community, the people. But the staff there were quite pleasant and workable. At Victoria, I found the handymen, and at the Enterprise Health Center in the Latin 2019-20, the handymen were very free. They had a lot of freedom, and they don't understand the we should say the refinement or the development or the growth and evolution of the pharmacist. You know, the pharmacist is, especially if he just comes out of high school and he goes directly into university, he has all his passions, his rough edges distilled, polished, smoothed out through many trials in the university, what the teachers and what the trainers, you know. Especially if you spend a long time there absorbing and learning about pharmacy, right? So what happened is that when you meet now people who are on the borderline of medicine and laymanship or the community, you find something, it can be very disturbing or very innovating, you know, because it's kind of, when it comes down to the handymen and the other, what you call them, auxiliary workers, sometimes their morale is very low. It's very low, to be frank. I'm telling you. But then the nurses understood that there was a medical superintendent at Nabakles, and they have kept themselves in check. But when they're given freedom, you know, like I was at the Lusignan to do relief work, I found the nurse in charge opening the cupboards where I was working my feet. This is very unprofessional, and I hope that they can be reminded that a respectful interplay is necessary between health deliverers, medical deliverers, medicine dispensers, and the other workers. Especially during the time of counseling and you're concentrating to do your work, it's not so you say comfortable for someone interjecting at intervals, you know, passing in and out, in and out. So these are many factors that are there that the pharmacist has to live with and learn, right? I'm not saying that the doctor supervisor is bad or the nurse in charge is bad, or even sometimes when they're not there, even the maid, she want to be in charge, or the community health worker certainly have to reassure, but the pharmacist has no right to rule the roost, to stand in fulcrum, to have a voice when the nurse in charge or the doctor in charge is not there. So finally, eventually distill down that the doctor is finally in charge of everything due to the conduct of the nurses and the degree of their professionalism, their instincts of medical attitude is very shallow, you know. So they say that a doctor is more professional. She can deal with people tactfully. They can speak. They can carry themselves maturely. So the pharmacist got to work on it, the doctor, but it's better than working under supervisor. Like some pharmacies, the owners are the supervisor, right? And here in Guyana, pharmacists are allowed to sign like 1-2 pharmacies. This will help boost up their pay package because not much we get in this health sector here. And every time your salary goes up, everything around goes up also. And what the pharmacists really need is respect, right? So the leadership in the pharmacy body has to be such educationally and by character that people respect the members of the body, whether it's the association or the council. Usually it's a body, a board comprising of directors and senior pharmacists and registrars and supervisors and different pharmacists, right? And they all combine together. Sometimes they still do not carry that weight, which will afford the pharmacists some recognition and respect in society. Another thing is that pharmacists need badges. When they're in a pharmacy, you know, they should have a badge saying who they are. Maybe the qualification can be listed, whether it's a dip farm or a BSc farm or a master's or a PhD in pharmacy. So if this is done, then the pharmacy can feel a little bit more lighter, you know. His shoulders can be a little less heavier. So what happens is that we have a pharmacist, but the supervisor is not a pharmacist. But he is a rich man. He owns a pharmacy. Sometimes he has a pharmacist selling stuff that are not pharmaceuticals, like they have to sell drink. They come to buy drink here, they drink, or they want sweets. That's not a pharmacy job. Or if he has perfume or cosmetic selling, you know, he's expected that he help out to get money to pay his package at the end of the month. All these things are not really feasible or welcome by pharmacists on the whole, right? Because the pharmacy as a profession in medical is close to divinity. I can remember in high school, the textbook student companion told us there are 3 professions: the medical, law, and divinity. So the other are just secondary kind of, you know. So these 3 are the most top professions. So apart from having a doctor or a nurse in charge or a rich man, the proprietor of pharmacists, we do know that they can be good supervisors and bad ones. If your supervisor is constantly nagging you, he's a bad supervisor. If you come a little late sometimes in the morning, he's a bad supervisor. If you cannot express your suggestion or opinions, he's a bad supervisor. If he does not listen to when you speak, and he's irate and insolent, he's not a very good supervisor either. So on these grounds there, you can agitate for better leadership, for better direction. And it's on the onus of the medical body and the World Health Organization to see that proper leaders are instituted so that workers can grow in their profession, enjoy their job, have fun there. Which mean fun, decent fun, civilized fun, not the lawless screams and professional and liberal hugs and smacks and smooches and exposures and semi-exposures and fingering and touching and, you know, contact, excess contact is not really appreciated. But if those things does exist, the supervisor is not a good one. And if you're trying to lead a professional to stick with the biblical principles, and the supervisor does not appreciate, he's not a professional, because medicine is based on religious principles. It derived from religion originally. And so we have like in Cambridge and Oxford, religion and philosophy, the ethical part, you have to learn those things as you become a doctor, you know. And if you cannot show ethics, it means that the university or the country that you trained from did not awaken that part of your cerebrum or cerebellum, whatever part of the hemisphere of your brain does with rationalization and appreciation and comparison and contrast. Whatever part deals with that was not awakened, cultured, and attended to. So we have both good and bad. If your supervisors gives you opportunity to grow, you get the opportunity to study, he gives you a scholarship, pay for your scholarship, sponsor you or send you abroad, he allows you to get leave occasionally, he allows you to express your free will when it's decent and civil, then he's a good supervisor and he should not be condemned. But when supervisors are, kind of off track, they don't sound professional, it means that we have to address the issue, we have to take things in our hand. There was many kind of supervisors, but the best, I think, for a pharmacist would be a pharmacist. And until that day, let's keep hoping that perfect specimens would be initiated for the supervisory position. Namaskar and thank you.